Hello and welcome to the Field Engineer channel. My name is Guy, and on this channel, we discuss topics of interest to field engineers, support engineers, biomedical engineers, and field managers. I have with me today Vikram Bhasker. Vikram joined the field engineering community in May 2022. He lives in the US and he focuses on helping companies establishing their service organizations and scaling them through their commercial cycle. He started as a research assistant and a business analyst. He then moved to field engineering and later to directing technical operations before becoming the professional expert that he is today. We're going to talk about that. Welcome, Vikram. I'm happy to have you with me today.
Outstanding. Thank you, Carnegie. It's an absolute pleasure. I've been following what the field engineer is doing and the sheer volume of help it's offering people all over the world, and it's extraordinary to be invited here. So thank you.
Our pleasure. It's really nice to have people with your expertise sharing your story and benefiting the community. So, Vikram, if I look at your LinkedIn profile, I see that you're a service architecture. You do service architecture for complex systems, aligning operations, risk, performance, and outcomes. That's a lot. Tell us about that. Tell us really what you do today, and then we're going to take a look back.
No, thank you. I appreciate you saying that's a lot. There's probably a little bit of embellishing, as most people do on LinkedIn, just to stand out. But in effect, what my function and my focus and my joy is finding frameworks that sort of set people up for success. Service has never been sexy. It's never been part of that front-facing part of the organization, or at least it's my feeling and my experience, that it's very much sort of that mundane, that kind of boring, but that it's vital, it's necessary. And my feeling and working with colleagues in this industry is that if you set that system up, if you set up that framework, the structure, the discipline, the diligence, the architecture within that, you are at least setting yourselves up to move forward for effective patient outcomes, product outcomes, customer outcomes. How best can you do that? Is it the be all end all? No. There's execution involved. There's training. There's feedback and all the rest of it. But at least if you set up the system in place, and the joy of that I have is that, look, how do you set up a system? It sounds very cliched, or sounds very sort of social media-esque into trying to put it into sound bites of how do you set up just a system in place to get things right. It'll fix everything. It won't fix everything, but at least it'll set you up. And that's where what my focus is. My background has been in MedTech, and I've been in MedTech for the last 20 years. I love the confluence of engineering and biology, and how do you sort of make a difference, real world outcome, depending on what your area of focus is. But I think service architecture, if you think about it effectively, and what we're trying to look at, whether you look at the terminology used as service design, it is something that can be implemented in any industry, as not just in MedTech. So I hope that gives you a broader idea and scope of my areas of interest and focus and what I do.
Right. So it's very good. And tell us, how did you get here? How did you get to this point of knowledge? What experiences did you live, and how did you get to this point?
A long and winding road, and not a definitively well-beaten path. Many years ago, hundreds of years ago, when I was in college, I was very indisciplined. I was not a very good student, not because I didn't have the talent or the smarts or the ability, but 100% because I didn't have the discipline or the execution. And I was very flighty in that. But that, being sharp or being smart can only get you so far. You need to have a level of discipline to actually, whether you're completing a task or project or getting through work, getting through a course work. I learned a lesson very early on in that, that my sort of not paying close attention on being disciplined in academics was not effective for me. And so I studied biomedical engineering in Australia, but because of my lack of discipline, I never finished it. Right? And so that's been to my detriment and to my disappointment for a long time. However, what I was very good at was very practical application of ideas and putting and getting my hands dirty. And because of that, I was provided many opportunities, a lot through grace and blessings and kindness and generosity of others, of actually working in the field, but and getting involved in that. And that practical application in those instances, in those opportunities, I took advantage of it. Whether it was working in business operations at a medical center, working as a business analyst early on, and again, I'm being generous with that title, but I had the opportunity to at least being exposed to some of those things, and then moving up from there. The field service engineering position in autogenomics was easily the first one where I sort of just my eyes opened up of, my God, you can do this, and this is so much fun, and you get to travel to customer sites, you get to and address and troubleshoot problems. And I think I've always had that engineering sort of nerdy, geekish curiosity of, I want to know why things work and how things work and how does this all get put together. And now I can go to a custom site and I can resolve this. But the real shift came by being actually not a little bit, but very humble, and actually talking to not just lab directors and operators and technicians, but also the warehouse staff and the front office staff, and recognizing that it's not just the instrument uptime that's relevant, it's also how it fixes and it ties into the rest of the system, as it were, whether you're just talking about the lab or supply chain or where you fit. And sometimes you can't do anything. It's out of your control. So you just are an empathetic voice. It was about relationship building, but actually being present and recognizing that it's all good to satisfy my curiosity of fixing an instrument and getting it up and running again. But how is it really adding value to their work stream? Where can I be involved in that? And that shift in mindset helped me sort of just, again, it sounds like a cliche, but where can I add value? Where's the outcome? What is it? It's not just a metric. It's not just trying to hit a mark. It's what can you do that is of value to you? Where can I be valuable? We, the organization, the team, and all that. So then there was that shift, went into Hologic, which is a medium-sized sort of medical tech innovator, really, that I was originally a GenProbe, was bought by Hologic, but I was part of their molecular diagnostics division, which I proudly believe is probably their flagship series in the Panther for molecular diagnostics. The claim to fame was their largest, was the highest throughput for the shortest footprint for that instrument. A little bit of plug for them there, but got exposed. I was part of their R&D division, worked really hand in hand, but my entire focus was service and support. And when I left, I ended up being the chief liaison with our largest business partner, which is Grifols, and their blood bank division. Managed all technical publications, with them. So I worked largely with the field there. I worked on software releases, not software development. That's a different group, but software releases and all the administrative stuff that's involved in that. Held managed diagnostic service conferences. And from there, most recently, I was at Lumos, where you set up, it was a small diagnostic startup and setting up the entire function. So that's that journey gone past the whole idea was, how do you shift from what can you do to what can we do? And what is the client, what is the customer, what does the patient need? What is value added there?
Right. If I want to go back to the beginning, where you said that you were a biomedical engineering student, but you didn't have the discipline and you didn't finish it. So, and then you moved to the US. What changed? What brought the discipline? What brought your curiosity?
That's a lovely question. I think the change was that eventually, I think I have a wonderful saying by one of my friends, and that and he wasn't referring to me in particular, but he was talking about himself, but I identify with it. I used to move at the speed of pain. Right? You put up with things until you put up with things, and then it gets uncomfortable enough. You're like, I might need to change, right? And that's, whether it's to do with academics or whether it's to do with health or whatever it is, right? And eventually you get it was just too uncomfortable of there's a lack of opportunity and or lack of progress in whom I want, and at the end of the day, all I wanted to do was to see how best I could be for that particular day. That's all I needed to do the best I could. I didn't need to be the best in the world, because there's always going to be people who are smarter than me and people who had less opportunity than me. But can I max in that? And so my parents had already immigrated to the United States, and I was in Australia, and I took advantage of that. And from there, from network contacts from there, again, it's nothing but grace and blessings and the kindness and generosity and willingness of people to take a chance on me. They said, okay, we'll give you a go. And then that's how it started. Once, given that opportunity, I, grabbed it and, and it wasn't conscious so much,
Mhm.
but it was sort of, hey, this is this mind shift, this thinking of being humble, being open, rather than part of that problem back when I was in college was the level of arrogance and dismissiveness. At 18, I think everybody thinks they're bulletproof, but eventually you grow out of it, or ideally you'd grow out of it. I just was a man child for a long time, right? And it took a while for me to actually mature. But once that did, it was like, okay, let's keep moving forward. This is, and then also a lot of it was also surrounding yourself with people who are also moving in that direction, who are thinking positively, who are trying to help people rather than trying to just sit in a bubble or be insular, being much more open-minded. Being willing to try new things. And one of the lessons I've learned is willingness is demonstrated by action. I can tell you that I'm willing to lose weight, but if I don't put the Nutella down, there's not too much willingness there. So I know I'm going off into existential things, but all of those things are all part of how the shift happened of, okay, let's keep moving forward. Let's keep moving forward. Let's every decision I make, every action I take has to be towards this new goal of learning and growing in this area, medtech, service and support, offering value, being productive, being helpful, being useful. There may be synonyms, but there are distinct definitions of those words there. So yeah.
When you look back today, looking back at where you started
Mm,
and put yourself in that time again,
mm.
was all this planned? Did you plan it step by step to get here? How do you see yourself arriving to where you are today? How did that happen?
Grace. I cannot place it, and I don't want to sound as if I didn't do the work eventually when I was finally given the chance. And by the
Mhm.
way, let's just for the record, I was given a lot of chances and a lot of opportunity by people in school and friends and things like that, and I just didn't take them. And again, the shift happened where I finally, things turned because of support of people and things like that. In answer to your question of how did it happen, just to clarify, the question was how did it happen was it planned? No. Sorry,
Right,
please.
right. That was what I
No.
was looking for, because when you, if we are directing our talk to younger people who are in their early 20s and they want to plan their career and their lives, it's just that you cannot plan it. It's not like that. You plan your next step, you go where you see yourself not necessarily comfortable, but making a difference. And it's like step by step, it leads you to where you will be in 5, 10,
100%.
15 years, right? It's not like you plan it step by step.
I think being malleable to how life can guide you is important, of being open to that. But I agree with everything you've said is just like wonderful words of wisdom there of none of this is planned. I mean, the chaos, none of this is planned, but the journey has been eventful and it is wonderful. And if any of that is of helpful to anybody else in the field, not just the field, I'm more than happy to share it. What I would encourage people to do is find a mentor, find a guide, and be okay with changing that mentor and guide, when the time is, because everything happens for a season and a reason. And then once you hit that mark, okay, and then I need to grow. It's okay if things shift. It doesn't have to be locked in but
Right.
I didn't, whether it was in sports. I had those opportunities, by the way. I had those opportunities in early on when I was in school and in college and things like that, in sports and academia and things like that. I just didn't take advantage of it. And then when I did have the opportunity, those mentors and those examples that I was like, wow, how are they where they are? Let me be open and transparent and ask them, can you help me? Can you guide me? Not one of them said no. Almost always the biggest thing that any of them said was, you know what, I'm a little bit busy. Can you just come back? But never a no. And so I would encourage them. And beauty of a forum like this is that mentor doesn't have to be in their company or in and around whom, the in their specific area. The field engineer has provided this fantastic opportunity of people to reach out and say, hey, yeah, Guy, could I please talk to you? And I mean, you're such a wonderful and kind man. Why wouldn't you? I don't want to flood your inbox with people, but that's what's going to happen. If this forum is a phenomenal place for that. of starting off and saying, okay, let me learn from you and let me learn from you.
Right. And I would say the same to you also, because basically we have all gone through different seasons of life. We learned, we succeeded. Sometimes we had setbacks, we failed, we came out of those failures. It's simply us sharing
Mm.
how we came out of the hole, how did we succeed, to guide the younger engineers and professionals in maybe avoiding some mistakes, right? We don't have enough time in life to experience all mistakes and learn from them, but we can learn from others that will save us the pain and the time and set us on the right path. So, as you said, this is a platform where we share and we try to help people directly or indirectly. And we are all here to help out. So, it's well said. Now, looking at your career again,
Mm.
what mattered more than formal education to help you advance in your career?
The the attitude uh, to the attitude and the mindset and the character to be willing, honest, open, and humble. Right?
Mm,
They're just at the forefront of the mind of the honesty of recognizing where I was, not where I wanted to be or where I should have been. Right? Of I could have done this, and then actually I should know. My peers are over here. Just where am I? Honestly looking at it, and this is, and that's where the mentors are, the guides, and the peer and the people you surround yourself can help you with that. The humility to ask for help and engage in that and put in the actual effort to learn, and that's extracurricular, not just at work, but to learn, to strive, to grow as much as you can, right? That humility, and then the willingness to actual take the action. There's no amount of anything will work if you don't put the odds in, right? And you know,
right.
for someone like me, who's my head will try and convince me, I'll do it tomorrow. There's never tomorrow. It's only today, right? So I got to put the work in now. Like move my feet, my head will follow, and that's what was effective for me. So yeah.
That makes me think of something. Time is the most important currency. You might lose money, you can recover it, but if you lose time, it's gone. There's no way to recover it. So, as you said, do today what you can do. And also, I see a certain philosophy that you have, that is, don't compare yourselves to other. Just better yourself, minute after minute, day after day, right? And that's what you did in your career. You didn't compare yourself to others. You just worked on bettering yourself.
Yeah, that's very generous. Thank you. I did that after not doing that for a while, right? And that was part of that pain of going to a place where you just keep, this isn't fair. That's not true that it wasn't fair. It was my myopia thinking it wasn't fair, but it was just like, oh, well, you know, why didn't I do this back then? And why are people, you know, further along? You know why people are further along? Because they're doing something that I'm not doing. They're working harder, they're working smarter, they're working sharper. So I need to do that, right? And so let's not get into that. Let's focus on this. And then eventually, you know, one of my again, one of my mentors said, look, Vikram, it's probably unlikely you're going to make the cover of Time. And then he stopped and said, well, if you make some bad choices, you may make the cover of Time. But the point was, I didn't need to that. I didn't need to be. You sort of brought me back to reality of just as long as I do the best I can today, right? Push for that, right? And I'll be honest, I don't always hit that mark, whether it's with my kids or whether it's my family, my wife, or no. But push, strive. And the thing is, I can't afford to be inconsistent at work, home, or play. It's got to be the same everywhere, right? And people can mistake that for drive or ambition or aggression or assertiveness. It doesn't matter. It works for me, right? But it's that, okay, what can I do a little bit better today? Whether it's the dishes, the laundry, or that project, or that focus with the client, or being more empathetic and perceptive to what they're going through. It's the same thing of push. Um, and then reset for the next day. Isn't that the joy anyway? Isn't that the joy to get
Mhm.
better and have fun with it and learn, whether it's reading or art or literature or sport or whatever it is. I'm trying to apply that in golf at the moment, and good Lord, that'll test the, you know, I love it because it's so technical. But my word, but it's fun. It's all part of the joy, right? It's your attitude with it. So yeah.
Exactly. Enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
So, we get to a place sometimes in our careers where we feel stuck and we
Mm.
don't know what to do next. You probably have been in those
Mm.
situations.
Mm.
From experience, what is your word to those who are at that point?
Yeah, that's a really good one, and I think in my not I yeah in my anecdotal evidence of talking to a ton of people in my industry, that happens to almost everybody. Of it gets to a place of is this it, or it comes in various forms of is this it? Am I are we is this this daily ritual or whatever it is, and punching the card, is this going to be it? Whether it's lack of inspiration or motivation or lack of joy from what they're doing. I think a lot of it is, for me, what was effective was taking some time to reflect and going, where do I want to go? Is this okay? And if I want to shift, what could that look like? And I had to talk to my mentors, or I had to talk to people I admired. I have to. Like, if I do this on my own, there's a chance that I could get it right, but there's a larger chance that some of my fears and my insecurities may override my good thoughts, right? But if I'm open enough to talk to you and say, look, I admire you. Could we have a conversation? Could we have a, whatever it is, right? And then I can spread that and have a a sum total of thoughts. Generally, people will guide you and go, okay, well, have you considered this? Have you considered that? And then going back to it. So I think that's really, really important. Um, and being okay that it's that one decision you make doesn't have to be perfect, right? If all of a sudden you're stuck here and you realize, oh, I need to go there, it may not be a straight line. It may be a wandering line, but enjoy that journey as well. It doesn't mean you have to be a doormat. It doesn't mean you have to get taken advantage of. I think it's very important for for my self-esteem to stand up and be advocate for myself, as it were. But at the same time, bring in that humility to go, okay, well, what could it look like? I'm not quite sure.
Mhm.
Let's enjoy the path. So it's not a really concrete answer. There's no definitive, you do this, but it's I think you do have to do all of it to get, yeah, it's again another one of my mentors. You have to do all of it to get all of it. If you do some of it, you get none of it. And I hate that. I'm like, well, I do 50% of the work. Surely, no, you got to do all of it. And my life is richer for that. So yeah.
Right. If I want to go back to MedTech a little bit,
Mm, mm.
um, where do you see it heading now with the advancement of technology and AI?
Yeah, I'm a bit cynical of AI, and it's a bit dangerous to say that on a recorded thing, but um, there's a huge amount of investment being put into AI, and I can see the immediate applications, whether on a basal level, like from a customer service standpoint, of how to more quickly, address customer concerns and patient concerns and things like that. We can, or on a much more higher or deeper level with, as an example, like with surgery, right? And how AI could help with recognizing tumors and stuff when you're in active surgery or things like that. Is that possible? Maybe. I don't know yet, right? I know that we have a huge AI boom. I'm wondering how much of that is bubble induced, and is it the companies over betting on the technology itself with the customer base not there, or is it a case of if you build it, they will come? I don't know, and I'm not qualified. I have thoughts, but I'm not qualified to actually make an assessment on that. I think if we recognize AI as a tool, or should I say the really large language models are not really AI, right? Yeah, no. But if we recognize that, I think there's a time and a place for it, but it has to be department specific, and how best can it be used as an adjunct tool rather than a definitive solution, or Excel is not, Excel is a tool. That's a silly
Right.
example, but Excel is a tool, but it's not a be all end all, right? And it, so I think if you take it with the idea of what, if you go back to outcomes, right? And I'm linking it back to the way I think and what I'm doing in performance outcomes. I mean, what are you trying to do, sir? What are you trying to do for the patient? What are you trying to do for the business? What are you trying to do for the department? And then what tools can you use? And our large language model is one of them. Rather than going with we've got this thing we got to use, let's just, everything looks like a hammer, right? What's yeah, to quote that philosopher from Top Gear, what we need is a bigger hammer, right? No, I think you got to be a little bit more effective in looking at where are we trying to go? What are we trying to get to? How are we trying to think? And not just tactically, also like large from a strategic standpoint from looking at it, 3, 5, 10 out. Don't just go towards the tool that could help you, but look at what you're trying to do. In patient outcome, I'm trying to talk about, right? And what does that look like for the business, and where can you add value, right? And it sounds
Exactly.
naive, but I think that's a little bit cleaner, a better way to attack the problem.
Yeah, it's really, as you said, it's really about looking at the situation and at the options you have, and then you make the smart decision. It's not like we have this tool. How are we going to use it? No. What is the situation? What tools do we have? Which is the best one? Just like you are approaching a medical device that is down and you want to try to fix it. What is the problem? So I pull the tool that I need to fix this exact problem.
And you bring up that point of that part of the things, I learned from engineers that was like never touch a working system, right? Because of this magic energy, you sort of just leave it alone, right? Kind of thing. But then when you are, right, don't solve the problem. Number one, don't solve the problem, replicate it. Just see where it is, and because from like because of your knowledge and understanding of the system, you should know how it sounds. If you're one of the tests we used to do was put us on the manufacturing floor and blindfold us, and when machines are wearing, what is that doing? What is this doing? That's the distributor running. That's the incubator. That's this. You should know the timing of it. You should know what direction it's going in. So let's troubleshoot from knowing what it should be doing and then what it's currently doing, and then reflect on it from there. Number one, do you know what the problem is? Have you actually identified the problem? Do you know the root causes? Number two, do you know how to fix it? And number three, can you actually fix it? And then 3B really is, can you course correct while you're fixing, right? So do you actually know what the problem is the root cause of it? Do you know how to fix it, right? What can you do to fix it? And then can you actually execute? They're all different things. So anyway.
Right, right. We're nearing the end of the time allocated for this talk, and that's unfortunate because there's a lot to say, and I appreciate your story and the experience that you bring. What would be the last few words that you would like to say to the community, whether it is about MedTech, career path, or anything that you feel compelled to share?
Thank you. And again, I appreciate the opportunity. I think it's sort of carrying on from your last question regarding large language models and of the like, of that there's a lot of integration is not the right word, but there's a lot of stuff that can move. You can move. I enjoy MedTech because of my passions between engineering and healthcare and things like that. But there are others who be able to move in and out. I think it's going to be a lot more. Synergy is not the right word. Analogous is not the right word. But be open to recognizing that a solution or a tool or a function or a learning or a knowledge in one area can be translated in others, and that can help with your career path. That can help with where do you want to go, not just your strengths, but what your interests are. Recognizing that functions in silos don't work anymore. It's not distinctly absolute, and be open to that. And that's just not providing a solution for your current customer or your current patient, but also on a larger scale of where you want to go in your career. Be open to recognizing that where can you this knowledge base that I have now, where else can that shift? Maybe it's aviation, maybe it's supply chain, right? Maybe supply chain's a large topic, but maybe it's in a, you know what I mean? It could be in economic development, it could be in infrastructure. Be open to that. Where is that joy? Where's that spark? But then talk to your mentors. Talk to your mentors.
Yeah.
That's critical.
True, very true. Vikram, thank you very much for sharing your story and experience with us today. It has been really a pleasure, and I look forward to further talks in the future. And dear viewers and listeners, thank you for your interest in our discussions. What did you think of our talk today with Vikram? What questions does it trigger? What inspired you for your next career move? And we hope that something in this talk was inspiring to you. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us as a community, to Vikram or myself or anyone else in the community who you think can help. Thank you very much, Vikram.
Thank you again. Thank you.